Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Tuttle back with you again. I wasn't planning on going live tonight, but I've had so many questions about the liquid on the roads and the fact that it's still cold out there. So it is a logical question to ask, and rather than answering 1,000 different times, or because I don't have the time obviously, so we'll just do it all at once. So everybody that wants to know can chime in here, and then we can find out together. And that way you guys can either rest easy or be on the lookout. Let's put it that way. And we'll also tell you how much ice we've had today, at least so far, the reports that have come in to the National Weather Service. So we'll recap that. We did that at lunchtime today, and then there's been some reports that came in after that. So we'll see if anything's changed. And but anyway, so thanks for joining me on YouTube as usual. See you guys in the chat. Also on Rumble. Glad you're here. And you guys on Rumble getting a little bit more active. I see your comments. So every time you do leave a comment, I do see it. So I appreciate that. And we'll get you, as Rumble builds, we'll get more action in that as well in the chat over time. And it'll be like YouTube here soon and Facebook. But I also put the link to join the broadcast channel. It might be capped at 5,000. I'm going to email my Facebook guy when I get off the air tonight and say, hey, is this a limit to this channel? They don't tell you that. They just create the channel for you. So if that's a limit, then that stinks. Wouldn't surprise me, but it is what it is. Michelle, thank you for the stars here on Facebook as we kickstart our evening coverage about the icy conditions. Kathy, thank you as well. Hope everybody was safe. Hope nobody had any major slips or falls. I did see some lady did. I think her broke her tibia. I was like, oh no. So it can happen like that. I had a friend that she went out, took one step off her porch, one step forward is all it took, one step down, and just went, phoop, just like that. And her Ring doorbell caught it. I was like, give me that so I can use that as how dangerous it can be. But I don't want to embarrass her. But the point being is, you watch her head come down, and this close to hitting the back of that concrete. That's so dangerous. I'm glad she was okay, but she did feel sore, right? So she popped the Advil and said, I'm going to feel it tomorrow. So she was already feeling it today. So you got to be really careful on the ice. I mean, we always talk about driving on it, but man, walking on it's bad enough. And that's why I put that little graphic on there, walk like a penguin. That way you don't find yourself in that situation, because it can happen really quickly. All right, let's get started. We've got, obviously, if we take a look outside, we have this cloudy, kind of a almost drizzly look to it, a little foggy even. You also see a temperature on my thermometer at the bottom left of 35.4 degrees. I'll bring this up full screen. So there you go, 35.4, and my dew point is 34, and I'm here in the Edmond area, so I do not have to worry about any ice in my part of the town. But what about your part of the town, right? Because we don't all live in Edmond. We live all over the state. And we're going to get to that too. Before we do, let me recap here what we did have. So last night and today, in our little ice storm that we had, which thank goodness was one of those minor ones that doesn't stick around very long, and warm air came in as the rain was wrapping up, and then things started to melt around lunchtime, right as predicted, and so that was good. So everything kind of worked out, and hopefully you're able to get some of your stuff done today. But little hot spot here in the data, quarter to half inch of ice, and honestly, from the reports I saw down here near Noble, we really should extend this in this area. So I would add, just from the reports you guys gave me, so a little hot spot here across central Oklahoma for very substantial ice accumulations. And I will admit, I busted severely west of this line. Remember the line I had drawn for you? Everything along this line and to the left of it was supposed to be trace up to 1/10 of an inch of precipitation. And yes, it did happen the 10th, but it also happened up around 1/4, especially in this area right along I-40. So my apologies for that. I did not see any data at all that was suggested, and the radar trends did not suggest it, but overnight it just kept coming in, I guess, very light. It gradually added up. So Clint ended up with just under 3/10 Elmore City, 1/4 inch. Mustang, 1/4 inch. Oklahoma City, Will Rogers Airport, 0.3 inch. So that is a lot of ice. Thank goodness, though, it didn't last long, so therefore we didn't have any significant power outages. We did have some across the state, but not many. If you do look elsewhere into Missouri, that was the other hard-hit area that we had in the forecast for ice accumulations of a 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and that is what they had around the Branson area, Springfield, up to the northeast, otherwise a 1/10 to 1/4 inch there. Unfortunately, the National Weather Service in Little Rock, Arkansas has not put out their totals yet. But if we look around here, there's a lot of 1/4 to 3/10 up here in this area. And I did see a 0.4 for ice accumulations. I think that was up around the Fayetteville area. So there was some amounts here of 1/4 to 1/2 inch just scattered around. In northeast Oklahoma, all of these are all rainfall amounts, by the way, so we can infer, since they have melted, that these were mostly ice totals. And so now you've got 3/10 to 4/10 all across the Tulsa area. Down here, McAllister, about 4/10, and then kind of west from there, 1/4. So a lot of these, once they melt from the ice status, you can actually measure them. So there you go. We have a lot of 1/4, in some cases maybe up to 1/2 inch in some areas here in Oklahoma. So the Tulsa office may get the map going. They may not. I don't know. But regardless, that was the latest look there. And if you do look over here, I did see one report, like I said, over here in northwestern Arkansas, of 0.38. So about 4/10 here near the town of Strickler. So that was another hard-hit area in the ice accumulations. Otherwise, here's a look at the rainfall as we speak. Play this in motion. You can see how it's all curling up around and moving out of the Tulsa area and up to Bartlesville, Bonita, Miami, and we will say goodbye to the tail end of this first storm system that we have had moving through our region of the country. Now I'm going to stop this, and you're going to notice these numbers on the screen. You're going, what are these numbers? Those are important, right? Well, these are dew point values. And if you remember, you have to be below freezing to have a problem. And a lot of these values are 32 degrees rounded up, or 32 degrees point something, but not quite 33. So that's kind of, each side kind of differs just a little bit. And I'm going to show you where that might be a concern for some roadways. All right, so let's go back to this guy right here. All right, so we'll do this a real short forecast here for you. And we're going to show you what we have to deal with. So let me go right here. Let's take a look at the... let's look at current dew points. So I remember I showed you that map a minute ago. And so here they round. And if I kind of get your attention around a couple of areas. So one will be down around here. I think one was up here, and then one is out here. So these three areas of the state are the only areas of the state where dew point values are actually just a hair below 32. So in theory, you could have a little glazing of ice because of the moisture around from fog and or a little drizzly conditions in these three areas. Outside of that, there is no threat for anything frozen. If you do look at the dew point temperature change, in other words, have they risen or fallen, everywhere's pretty much status quo or slightly rising in this area from all the moisture. They've fallen a little bit out here to the north and west, but they're still high. So in other words, they're not falling anymore, and they're still mostly above freezing, above that 32 point. If we look at the wet bulb temperature, which is when you can, if you were to saturate the atmosphere completely, which we are pretty saturated, obviously with the fog and the clouds, then you have these tiny little areas where you might have some slippery conditions. So if you notice here on the map, that's up around Bartlesville to the left for Osage County, and then you got down here south of Okmulgee to about McAllister, kind of in between, a little spot there for kind of valley issues. A little taste up here, Woods County, and then up into the Panhandle. So those are going to be your potential slick spots overnight tonight. All the moisture elsewhere over the state should not become a problem as far as icing is concerned, which is great news, right? But it is obviously thick on the moisture. Therefore, there is an advisory in effect. It is a dense fog advisory. So you will have some very low visibility and, of course, wet roads, but not icy roads. So that's some good news there. By now, everybody who's had ice today should have melted. I don't foresee a way it could still be around unless maybe it's a really shaded and protected area. So let's take a look then at the visibility here for tonight. So the purple area that you see here on this map is the visibility. And as you watch how it expands, and by expanding I mean low visibility. So if you put your little cursor here, it says 1/10 of a mile. All right, so you got some very low visibility over most of Oklahoma for tonight. So obviously some very foggy conditions. So that's obviously a traffic situation, especially if you're driving too fast and you come up across something. By like late morning though, 9-10 o'clock in the morning, we start to lift all that fog and all that visibility. So it does get better as we head into the morning hours, into the afternoon. And then, but still kind of foggy though over eastern parts of Oklahoma. Still low clouds, but at least the western half gets cleared. But then we have this stuff down here to the south. You know what that is? That's good old-fashioned rain. So let's take a look at that. Okay, the first round gets out, and here comes that second round of rain moving in by lunchtime across the I-40 corridor and points to the south. That zips on through central Oklahoma from west to east, moving from south to north through 7 o'clock. So it'll be wet tomorrow in the afternoon across a good chunk of the state. And then by 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock and midnight, there is still just a touch of temperatures right around the freezing point. So could be a little light glazing of ice in the Oklahoma Panhandle, maybe the far northern counties of the Texas Panhandle, and into western Kansas. So that's an issue there. Also tonight for western and central Kansas, you will still be cold enough to where if you have any fog or drizzle, you are expected to have a light coating of ice. So if you do live in Kansas, be prepared that you're still a little colder than we are here in Oklahoma. Therefore, you will have slippery roadways to deal with, whereas we, for the most part, should not. Okay, so that takes care of your rainfall threat, the cloud cover we talked about, and the the foggy conditions. If you do look at the forecast for actual temperatures, you will see. Let's go to the Tuesday, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. The models are trying to say you're pretty close to freezing in this area, but I still think you're going to be above. As we head into the afternoon, the morning hours into the afternoon, you can see how we warm up as we head into our Tuesday. Readings will be into the mid to upper 30s across most of the state, maybe some 40s out there to the south and east. And then by tomorrow night, so there's that little patchy area of some potential freezing conditions with some moisture for Tuesday night and Wednesday morning out there. Otherwise, the rest of the state looks good, just on the chilly side. And then as we head into Thursday morning, the models are trying to bring in some lower temperatures. So again, with that rain that did move through tomorrow, there might be some still wet patches on the ground. And if that's the case, then you will have to watch for some slick spots in the morning hours. But otherwise, it's not a widespread area. It's kind of valley regions or maybe where you get some lower dew points. So that's kind of a touch and go. Again, that's not expected for tonight, other than those little 3 areas I outlined, very small, remote. But for tomorrow night, that might be a little different story if there is anything wet on the roadways. That was it. So I just want to kind of give you a short-term forecast, talk about the foggy conditions and as to whether or not you had to worry about a repeat of icy roadways in the morning. And according to the current data and the forecast data, we should not have any problems as our air temperatures are already above freezing for the most part, and then the dew point values are also either at or above the 32-degree mark, with the exception of those Tuttle areas, and it's like a 31.9, 31.8. So again, in theory, bridges, overpasses, kind of a deal in those regions up in northeast Oklahoma and down around, between Muskogee and McAllister, and then up to the Panhandle. Those would be the most prime areas. But you always drive, slow when it's foggy anyway. So obviously be careful if you're going to be out and about tonight. But nothing like what we saw earlier today. So that was it. So as a short broadcast, I know you're like, what? You're done already? What are you talking about? It's not even 10 o'clock yet. Yeah, I know. I'm out of stuff to say, man. The system's over. What are we looking for in the future? More rain off and on this week. Nothing like severe or anything, and nothing widespread, icy or snowy. I didn't look beyond the next few days. Obviously, I've been a little preoccupied with other things, but I'll get a forecast out. Didn't get a chance to do a blog on Sunday or today because it's just too busy. So I may get a blog done or may not. We'll just deal with it. Otherwise, just expect rain off and on this week because the pattern is a wet one and a cool one. Not a cold one, but I guess you say chilly, but mostly above freezing, so that's good. All right, that's it from me. You guys sleep well tonight. Again, thanks for your coverage, your patience, your love, your support, all that kind of stuff. Like and share the video. Tell your friends and family about AT's weather. Let them know that good place to go for a forecast, especially long term when stuff like that matters. And we will see you on the next broadcast. All right, good night, everybody.